Hello and welcome to Slow Pit Stop, the international Formula One podcast by fans for fans all around the world. My name is Arafat, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host Mohammed. Say hi, Mohammed.
Hi, Mohammed.
Lovely shirt you're wearing there.
Yes, I'm retiring this shirt today.
What should we call today's episode? Low gone but not forgotten.
Yeah, that's good.
But yeah, I think that's the big story, right? Logan Sargeant losing his seat. Franco Colapinto, was that his name?
Well, you know what? Even Williams
Colapinto.
doesn't know his name. Have you seen the printing on the garage?
No.
His name is spelled Colapinto instead of Colapinto. So
no.
they spelled his name wrong. It just shows you that they were not prepared for this. What do you think? What do you think was like the moment where James Vowles was like, "Yeah, I can't do a single race more," because they let him race on Sunday. Like, if they were gonna fire him, wouldn't they have fired him after his act? Were they like, yeah, we'll let him race Sunday. If he can make up 4 positions, he can go one more race. And then, like, he was like, no, I guess he didn't make up the 4 positions. Like, what was the moment?
I think the decision was made on Saturday after the crash. Because all of these things have a cost benefit, right? And what I'd be interested in knowing is, when did they tell him that it was over? Did they say, look, this is going to be your last race, go out, make sure you have a good one, enjoy it, blah, blah, blah. That's the last time you're going to get to race a Formula One car, like, in full anger.
There's no way they made it that dramatic. I would be so surprised. They were already like when did you see when the tweet came out from Williams? It was like, Franco Colapinto will be racing in the remaining. It wasn't even like, thank you, Logan. Like, all that stuff came later, but their first thing was just like, here's our new driver. He's going to be racing for us. So I don't think they told Logan that. I think, like, after the race, it was like, they do their debrief, and they were probably going through, like, Alex, this was your race. Yes, you almost got in the points. Okay, this is what we can do. Okay, Logan, this was your race. It's not going to we're going to end up changing all the settings anyway. So, and then he was probably like, wait, what? You're going to end up changing all my settings? Like, yeah, we didn't tell you. Oh, yeah, so, yeah, you're not coming back, Logan.
So what do you think of it? Good decision, bad decision? Wait, we've gotten right into the podcast. We normally do, like, news, the race. We spend lots of time talking about Logan.
We talk about podcast snacks. I actually have snacks today. I brought snacks. Do you want to see my snack?
Good. Yes, I have something called pretzels. Do you have those in America?
Oh, what are those?
These are American-style pretzels. No, not style. American-inspired Penn State pretzels.
What is American-inspired about? How do you guys do your pretzels? Surely there must be one way to do pretzels.
No, like, the snack itself is an American snack.
What? You guys don't have pretzels for snacks?
Well, we do. Clearly I do. But it's like an American snack.
That's crazy.
But like, if I had like a croissant, I'd be like, oh, that's like a French pastry.
Yeah, but I thought pretzels were German. I didn't know that it was like an American snack.
I think the little ones that are like crisps or whatever are.
Yeah, American. That's crazy.
I don't know enough about pretzels. There's like so much random information I need to know in my head that I'm not going and searching about pretzels.
I have something with me today that's quintessentially American. I have with me a Kit Kat bar, which is pretty much as American as you can get it. And these are not made by Nestle. The Nestle ones internationally suck. This is made by the Mars Bar company. And they're way better. So that's my podcast now.
2 different companies make the same thing?
Yeah, you didn't know that? Yeah, so in America, Kit Kat is made by the original company, which is Mars. And outside of the world, they license it to Nestle. But Nestle uses their own recipe. They don't use the original recipe. So everywhere outside of America, Kit Kat tastes different. And in my opinion, not as good. They're just a little too sweet compared to the ones in America, which are slightly more like dark chocolatey. Slightly more, not a lot. But it just makes it, in my opinion, taste a lot better. So we have the original Kit Kat.
Did I tell you I met the CEO of, like, Mars once?
Wow.
So, uni, like, I obviously studied medicine, but the business school, he came to do a talk.
Yeah.
And it was, like, organized by, like, the business society or whatever. And the president at the time was my friend, Andrew. And so went along to support. And I was like, need to make sure his talk is a success and all that stuff. And got there and there was like 1 million people there. I was like, oh, I'm not required here. But it was interesting anyway. And we were talking about, because he used to be the CEO of Mars. And then at that moment in time, he was the CEO of Thornton's. and he worked at like Nestle as well or something. I can't remember. He was talking about business and blah blah blah, how you factor in fair trade, like Rainforest Alliance, all these things, and still run a successful business, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And people were asking questions about all these things, and modern slavery and chocolate and blah blah blah. And I wanted to ask a question, but I didn't get picked. But I put my hand up, and I was going to be like, "So, what's your favorite chocolate then? Given that you worked with these 3 different companies, what do you think tastes the best?"
So we'll never know what his favorite chocolate was.
We never will. And as if by magic, my audio quality has improved because I definitely hadn't forgot to plug my mic in. But
That's
anyway.
funny. I have one more story about the Mars company, but it's so unrelated, I cannot justify saying it on this podcast.
Do it. This is where we are as a podcast now.
So you know M&M's, right?
Yeah.
So if you'll notice, M&M's never melt, and it's because in like World War II time era, the United States paid an absurd amount of money. The U.S. military paid huge amounts, hundreds of millions of dollars to the Mars company to develop a type of chocolate that wouldn't melt in the field. And the Mars company invented M&M's, where they coated the chocolate with thin candy that would prevent it from melting. So if you ever have M&M's and you leave it out in the sun or you leave it in your car and it's really hot out, they won't melt because of this hundreds of millions of dollars of military funding that went to perfect this candy from ever melting. That's my other Mars story.
I find it bizarre, the amount of weird things that get military funding in America. Genuinely. It's just like the most random things. It's like we make chocolate and missiles.
I know. My sister, her funding currently is from the U.S. military. I don't know what they're paying her to make. They're paying her to make something. Maybe it's M&M's.
Good times. Oh my God. Maybe that's what she's doing. And the fact that we are here minus M&M's is a tragedy.
Oh. That'll be my podcast snack next episode. M&M's.
What do you think about M&M's with the brownies in them?
Well, I've only had them once. They were a little chewy, but the taste of it was fine. But the texture was kind of chewy for me.
So the taste is fine, but I find eventually they make you feel a bit sick. Whereas like a whole bag of M&M's, I could eat and feel fine.
Yeah.
Whereas the brownie ones, after a while, I'm starting to feel a bit sick.
I think the peanut ones are my favorite. I think I could do those forever. Yeah.
Good times.
Formula One?
Yeah, should we get back to Formula One?
Yes.
Okay, so we had a race at Zandvoort.
Mm.
The big stories are Jack Doohan is being confirmed as Alpine's driver for next year.
I forgot about that so much.
Yeah. And then Logan had a crash on the Saturday in FP3. His destiny was sealed and he is no longer a Williams F1 driver.
Tough times, buddy.
Been replaced for the next race by Franco Colapinto. Did I get it right? Who is an Argentinian driver of Italian descent and will be racing at Monza. Other news stories, we still don't know who was going to be the second driver at Sauber.
Or VCarb.
Or VCarb. Well, VCarb seem to have 5 drivers that they need to fit into 4 spaces. That's their problem. So VCarb have 5 drivers that they need to put into 4 places.
Sauber has nobody wants the second seat at Sauber.
Well, the other problem Sauber has is nobody could quite work out who's in charge and who can decide who sits in the second seat. Are Sauber in charge? Are Audi in charge? Is Binotto in charge? Is the team principal in charge? Like, whose call is it? No one knows. But yeah, should we get into... How do you want to do it? Do you want to talk about the race first, or do you want to talk about the Logan Sargeant weekend?
Yeah, let's do Logan Sargeant first, and then we can... Because the race, really, there's like 2 things to talk about. And that's
Lando started on pole. Lando lost it off the line. Lando always does that. It's very funny. He won in the end. End of story. That's the race.
That was the best part, was him immediately losing it. I had in my head, I was betting like, okay, how far into lap 1 is he gonna make? Because he's not gonna make it the whole. I refuse to, and I really thought turn 2. I thought he'll hang it out turn 1. Verstappen will get him in turn 2. And it was right off the line. It was right at the start. It was so funny. And like all of his fans online are like, this aged poorly. Lando's start, he ended up winning the race. I'm like, guys, I know he won the race, but he lost the lead off the start. Come on. So anyway.
It must be so hard being a Lando fan for that. Like the anxiety of lap one. Like I used to get it a lot, with Lewis on pole.
Yeah.
There was a year that he was starting badly for whatever reason. And I was like, yeah, he's on pole, but Nico might get ahead, blah, blah, blah. Like I always used to prefer Lewis starting in second because I was like, he can chase. Chasing is fine. There's like hope through the whole thing. So yeah, I feel for them.
The next other thing that happened in the race that was hilarious to talk about was George getting pit for absolutely no reason. So he's like, okay, so he was in third for a while. I thought, it would be really sad if he finishes on the podium when Lewis had to start at like P31. And then like slowly he starts to like lose that, right? And he's like fourth, then he's fifth, then he's sixth. And Sainz is catching him, and you think, okay, he'll finish seventh, but there's no way Checo's going to catch him and overtake him. And then, as Sainz is right as he's about to overtake him, Mercedes is like, box. And literally, I could not think of a reason why. I was like, this makes no sense. They're going to put him on the soft tires to maybe catch Perez, but then Perez was probably not going to overtake him, and it made no sense. And as the race played out, it still made no sense. Until this day, it makes no sense. Mercedes says that George cooked his tires and that he was never going to stand up to Perez, so maybe that was it, but it would have been epically hilarious if they had pit George and then Lewis had overtaken him. I mean, that would have been the best thing.
Yeah. I think it does get to a point where they're like, if we lose a position, is it better to protect against a puncture? Worn down tire, and like he's already had the situation where he had a race win taken away from him because he was underweight. So they're like, if you're gonna what's the difference between P6 and P7?
Yeah.
Like, may as well just take the 7.
Yeah, that's fair. There's really no, it was like 2 points, and bad weekend for Mercedes. Like, as happy as we were before.
I loved it. I'm so happy because Lewis has won the British Grand Prix now. Yeah. And I was like, that is enough. For my, what I want out of 2024, that was incredible. And then he went and is now the winner of Belgium as well. So I'm like, great. He's won 2 races. Love it. This is amazing. He doesn't need to do well for the rest of the season. I would love to see Ferrari continue to get better and better and better so that I'm like, oh yeah, that's the car that Lewis is going into next year. So this is my new thing. Like, from now onwards, I want the Mercedes to do worse and worse and worse.
Yeah.
I know I'm wearing a Mercedes top right now, but I'm a Lewis Hamilton fan first. I've said this for a long time. Lewis first, Mercedes second. Next year, I'm going to be in my red Ferrari gear.
Yeah.
I'm going to look good in red.
Our grey Ferrari gear, apparently.
But yes, our grey-black Ferrari gear. There's going to be a special Ferrari outfit at Monza. I don't think they'll change the colour of the cars, though.
That would be actually insane. No, they shouldn't do that. They shouldn't make the cars grey.
It should be red, because all the fans and everything is going to be red.
Yeah.
I think having a special outfit is fine.
Mm.
But leave the car. Or what they'll do is they'll just put like a little bit of extra black at the back or something. But I think the front of the car should be left untouched.
Yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't even mind some extra gold. I think they did that last year. I think I really liked their Monza livery last year. It was like really special. But yeah. So George gets pit for no reason. Or I guess the reason is to protect him from a puncture. Lewis starts 10 places below him, finishes right behind him, which, it reminds me of 2021 when Lewis and Max would start in different places and then end up finishing 1 and 2 anyway. Like, no matter what they did. It just tells you
that's where the car was at. The car was at finishing 6th or 7th, regardless of where you started. That was the speed of the car.
Yeah. And that was what I think is, you're right, I don't know why I didn't put 2 and 2 together, but I should be ecstatic that Mercedes finished there, and very happy that Charles Leclerc put the car on the podium, because that means that's what the opportunities. Imagine Lewis in that Ferrari maybe could have also gotten a podium too. So,
yeah. So constructors-wise, Ferrari scored more points than Mercedes and are now third, still third. Mercedes on 276 points, Ferrari on 370. Outscored Red Bull. McLaren got 404 points, and Red Bull's on 434.
Wow, that's very close. They're going to get overtaken for sure.
They're going to get overtaken. I think McLaren's going to win the Constructors' Championship for the first time since 1998.
Wait, this is 1998?
Lewis won the drivers. They didn't win the Constructors that year. They finished second in the Constructors.
What?
Ferrari won the Constructors. So it was either 98 or 99. Let me check. I'll tell you.
That's incredible. What a season!
When was the last time they won the Constructors' Championship? Racing history, click. Where's the racing results? There we go. They finished first. The last time they finished first, 1998, yeah.
So, that's a great sporting story, but as a professional hater, it makes me really sad that Zach Brown is going to court all these corporations, tobacco companies, vaping, whatever, and end up winning the championship because of it.
But yeah, good on them. Good, like, from where they were at the beginning of the year and beginning of last year, to be able to go and win the constructors. But that's kind of what we wanted from a stable rule set. We almost don't want the 2026 rules to happen because the longer the rules are stable, the more other people catch up.
Yeah. But we don't want Mercedes to catch up. We want Ferrari to get 2 steps ahead and everyone to spend at least 1 year trying to catch them. That's what we want.
Yeah, and then Lewis can retire. And then after that, whatever happens, happens.
Yeah, I literally wouldn't care. Okay.
But what was I going to say? Yeah, so should we get into Williams weekend and James Vowles and how we think James Vowles has been handling his time?
Yes, let's do it.
So there was rumours going around he was asking Red Bull about Liam Lawson and if he could borrow him, particularly after Logan's crash on Saturday. And there was also rumours that he wanted to talk to Mick Schumacher, and in the end, they ended up with Franco Colapinto. Of those 3 choices, do you think he picked the right one? Do you think there would have been a different choice altogether that would have been better?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't make sense to bring a rookie in for half a season when you already know Carlos Sainz is taking that seat. And I had actually forgotten that Carlos Sainz signed with Williams because so many changes have happened this year that I literally forgot what was happening. So I initially thought they're bringing in Franco Colapinto to trial him, and then next year they'll determine whether he gets the seat or not. But then I remembered that no, Sainz has that seat for next year. So if you want to maximize the amount of points and you want to limit the amount of damage you're going to make your cars, because I think that was the deciding factor with Logan instead of like keeping him till the end of the year, because I mean they're not going to get too many other points from him. I think the deciding factor was he just kept causing too much damage. Then you would want to bring in someone who knows their way around the Formula One car, who has some experience, who can drive it. And I was thinking like, okay, Liam Lawson, he only really had like maybe 2 races. Nick DeVries, maybe, but he did crash his car a bunch. I really thought Mick Schumacher would be perfect for this. You need somebody who can bring the car home, maybe score a point or 2, not crash the car. And Mick didn't really crash the car a ton.
He crashed all the time at Haas. That's why they sacked him.
I thought he was sacked because he just never did a good job.
He sacked because he cost the team too much money. So he was crashing all the time.
Dang, I don't remember that. I remember Mazepin crashing all the time.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. It looked good
compared to Mazepin.
When Mazepin was there. When Mazepin disappeared, suddenly everyone was then like, he's not good. But with Mazepin around, Liam Lawson did 5 races and scored points in Singapore.
I like Liam Lawson. I really like him. But I'm trying to think who is like the seasoned veteran, who's been driving a lot, maybe doesn't have a seat right now. I don't know. Who's a Danny Ricciardo, essentially?
Yeah, so I was going to say Nico Hulkenberg, super sub.
Yeah, he already has a seat.
Yeah, exactly. So they went for Liam Lawson first because I think he's probably the best of talents and is not currently in a race seat. But Red Bull were like, we were open to talks about a longer term loan, i.e. will you give him a race seat for next year? Because that solves a lot of Red Bull's problems. If Liam Lawson was able to go race at Williams for a year, they were like, no, we're not really going to do that. We just need someone for this year. And then they were like, well, he's still our reserve driver. We want the ability to call him back at any time.
Yeah.
And Williams were like, well, we can't just suddenly leave our drop, let him go back to you, because then we're left without a driver again.
Yeah.
So then there was this thing with Mick Schumacher, but I think, again, there was complications with his Alpine contract. And Alpine wanted to retain the right to recall him for the World Endurance Championship or whatever. So you're right. I think someone more with experience who will just not crash the car would have made more sense. From Franco Colapinto's side, like, Williams also have to be like, we have a junior driver academy. We have to like show that it gets somewhere. We can't just keep having junior drivers and then never letting them near the race car.
Mhm.
And also, like, Ollie Behrman had one race and impressed so much he got a Haas
That's
seat.
true. That's true.
You know,
It
Liam
could be
Lawson had
great.
5 races. He impressed enough that he didn't get a seat for 24, but he's been told he's going to get a seat for 25.
Mhm.
So, from Franco's point of view, yes, I don't think he'll get a race seat next year, but he may impress enough that someone like Haas, someone like Sauber,
26 year. Yeah.
someone else might take him the following year. Or, you know, let's say something crazy happens in the driver market, Carlos leaves, Alex leaves,
Yeah.
then they've got him with a little bit of experience already that they can
Mhm.
just move him up into a full-time race seat. I
Yeah.
would have liked to see... Who would I like to see? I don't know. I just feel bad for Logan because I keep thinking about it. On the one hand, you know, it's like, and I hope it was handled in a way where he knew it was coming. It wasn't surprised. Like, if XYZ happens, you will lose your seat.
Yeah.
And at the moment he crashes, he should have known that was condition X met, and therefore I'm going to lose my seat.
Yeah.
I hope they were supportive and like are helping to manage his mental health right now. But I don't know. We talk about this how, like, you know, the formula sometimes suits you and sometimes it doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about having your moment.
Mm-hmm.
And like the way the cars were have suited Lewis Hamilton's style, but not Nico Hulkenberg for whatever reason.
Yeah.
You know, Nico Hulkenberg had an amazing junior Formula success.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, you know, Sebastian Vettel, pre the turbo hybrids, he was amazing. And then post turbo hybrids, he wasn't. And it was just like that rule set just never gelled with his driving style.
Mm-hmm.
So you sometimes wonder, you know, was he just unlucky? And if the rules were a bit different, if he was born 10 years earlier or later, could he have been a world champion or something?
Yeah.
But just as everything was at this time, it just didn't work out. So I hope, although he's like, I'm out of F1, I hope he goes on to have success and fulfillment elsewhere.
I hope so. I think, you know, when you think about the F1 journey and the F1 dream, there's different ways to approach that, right? For drivers who are good, you know, their dream will involve winning a championship. For drivers who know that they're like middle of the pack, and then again, I'm saying, of course, if you're getting to F1, you're already one of the top drivers in the world. But if you get there and you know like what your level's at, you know, your hope is I want to get on pole position, I want to score a lot of points, I want to be on the podium. Maybe a race win would be good too. And then if you're drivers, I think like Logan Sargeant, you are just happy to get your opportunity to race in Formula One. And I think that's where he's going to see it. I think when he started, he knew like, I have an opportunity here to do something really big. Maybe if I perform really well at Williams, I can get picked up by another team. Then maybe I can have my dream of points and, you know, podiums and wins. And then I think when the first year went the way it went, I think he realized like, I'm not really gonna make it that way. Like I don't think he ever looked at it and thought, yeah, like this is me. I'm amazing, or the car sucks. It's not my fault, or something. I think he knew where he was going, and I think the way this year went, I think it was very magnanimous of James Vowles to give him a second chance and say we're gonna do more. I think he should have just let him finish the year out. He already has sponsors. Make his sponsors pay for the car damage. I don't know. I think they've done it. You know,
Maybe they were for a while and now they can't.
maybe. Yeah.
What do you think? Because the brutalness of F1, you know, what do we think of Perez?
I didn't know that's where you're gonna
Oh my
go.
God, I just solved everyone's problems.
Then.
Williams should have taken Perez. Then Red Bull could have either put Lawson or Ricardo or Yuki into the Red Bull seat to try and fight for the constructors. And they've done this before. Remember when they had Brendan Hartley, Daniel Kvyat,
Yeah.
and they would just like swap drivers in and out. You're Toro Rosso now, you're Red Bull, no, you're Toro Rosso again. People were all over the place. So they could do that. They could be like, right, Daniel, you got 2 races in the Red Bull, and let's see if you can beat the McLarens. No, out. Yuki, your 2 races. No, out. And then Liam Lawson, you got your turn now. So they could have done that. That's what should have happened.
That would have been incredible because...
And Perez would have brought that car home.
Yeah, and he maybe would have stolen a point here and there too. I mean, he's good enough to get points, right? Like, he's not like awful. He's just not the level of Verstappen. So yeah, that's an incredible idea because then you move Yuki Tsunoda into the Red Bull. You trial him for a few races. Maybe you put Daniel Ricciardo and trial him for a few races. Determine who's going to be there next year. Then the other seat can go to Liam Lawson. Oh my God! Why weren't we running these teams?
We would have had it. fix to all their problems?
The answer is probably because Perez didn't want to go to Williams, and his billionaire friends in Mexico, Carlos Slim, was like, "Don't worry, buddy, I'm not sending you to Williams."
How there was all those videos online of like Horner shaking Ricardo's hand, and like people were talking about, oh, we've heard from Zandvoort they're printing Ricardo Red Bull things to put over the car and all of this sort of stuff. How did Perez manage to keep his seat? Does he have?
It's Carlos Slim. I know. I think that I'm almost entirely sure that's what happened.
Because I think it's money, but there's lots of conspiracy theories online about he's got dirt on the team or Horner or this or that. And like, I can't see how that makes sense. Because if he has dirt on you now, you can't give him a job forever. Eventually, you're going to have to let him go, and then that stuff's going to come out. So I don't think that's real. But I'm like, just for the drama of it, it would be fun if it was.
No, I think he called Carlos Slim, and I think he said, "I'm going to be out of his seat this year, and I don't know if anyone's going to take me next year. Could you help me out?" And I think Carlos Slim was like, "I want a Mexican in Formula One. You know, I want my nation to be represented. So let me make some calls." And he made some because you need to have powerful calls to change a team's direction like that. You know, like this is like, you know, a huge, like for Lewis to go to Ferrari, John Elkann, the chairman of Ferrari, had to go talk to Lewis directly. Like it didn't come from like Mattia Binotto or like some lower level. It was the chairman of Ferrari. So I think it was a big call.
Could you imagine someone from HR being like, "Hi, I'm a recruiter," like hitting Lewis up on LinkedIn. We have a great opportunity for you to really achieve your potential.
Hi, I'm an intern in the HR department. We're trying to find new drivers to take Carlos Sainz's seat. Would you be interested?
God.
So, yeah, I think he called Carlos Slim, and I think he said, like, I want my seat in Red Bull. And Carlos Slim could only guarantee it for another half year. We don't know what's happening next year, right? That's the big thing.
Technically, Perez has a contract, but I think a Red Bull contract isn't worth very much.
Mm.
But yeah, so he finished 6th. Piastri finished 4th. So Piastri outscored him. And then Lando obviously outscored Max. So I think McLaren are on course to win the Constructors. And I would be really happy if they did. I know I'm sort of anti-McLaren because of the whole tobacco relationship. So I'm conflicted. But I think it would be very interesting for Formula One.
As I said, it would be very good for the sport. Like, it would be incredible for the sport to see McLaren win a championship.
Yeah.
It would just be sad for ethics.
Yes. Yeah, that's what it is.
I got a question for you, though.
Uh-huh.
Which is the worst driver academy? Alpine, Williams, or Red Bull? The true answer is Sauber, but let's not.
Oh yeah, they've got F2 and F.
Don't they have Theo Porcher? Isn't he in Sauber or something? Or no?
Yeah. They have like a Sauber like F2 to F something team. They have the other stuff they do. I think. I don't know. I've not paid enough attention to care.
Theo is. Let me double check what academy he's in. He's in the Sauber Academy.
Sauber Motorsport. They have a Formula One team. Test drivers: Theo Porcher, Zane Maloney.
Zane Maloney.
Sauber Academy. Main article. Sauber Academy feeder series ladder to promote to the Formula One team. Current drivers: Zane Maloney, Lena Buller, Carrie Schreiner, and then karting: Miguel Costa and Thames Saleh. No current full-time series: Theo Porcher. Lol.
What's happening with Theo? He's gonna go to McLaren.
He's gonna go to McLaren. Yeah, jeez, again.
So Alpine, Williams, or Red Bull?
So Red Bull at least get you into F1, but then you get like put through the meat grinder. Alpine can get you a job somewhere else.
Yeah.
And they won't put you in their car, but like Zhou or Piastri, you will end up somewhere. And then what was the other one? Williams. Williams will have you on the books, but never let you proceed.
What's the worst meat grinder? Williams or Red Bull?
So well, Red Bull at least let you do the job for a bit. So it's a bit like saying, okay, you get a fellowship.
Okay.
In your chosen specialty as a doctor. Would you rather you never got that fellowship at all? That's Williams. Okay. You got the fellowship, a la Red Bull, but after a year you got dumped and you never made it to attending? Or would you want to be Alpine, where you apply for the fellowship in cardiology, for example, and somehow you end up in a gastroenterology fellowship in a different hospital somewhere else, but you go on to have a career there? That's bringing it back to our world. What would you rather?
I'm going to be honest and say Williams. I can't imagine the embarrassment if I did a fellowship for a year and then got kicked out and having to explain to everyone that I'm no longer in my cardiology fellowship because I got kicked out. I would be so embarrassed. I'd rather have never done it at all. Williams, Team Williams, and that makes sense because when we compared ourselves to drivers, I was Alex Albon, the generalist in the hospital, Williams General Hospital.
Yes, Williams General Hospital. I forgot about that. Yeah, that makes sense. Cool. What other news are Jack Doohan going to be in F1 next year? Great.
Good for him. Yeah. Makes sense.
Anything else that we need to discuss?
So yeah, I mean the last question is VCARB, what they're going to do, and then what's going to happen with the Sauber second driver. I think Sauber's going to call up a junior, and I think VCARB will bring in Liam Lawson, which is nice. You know, we're going to have a lot of young drivers. Oscar, Ollie Behrman, Colapinto. I think I'm missing one. Is there some other young guy? Maybe not.
A lot of them seem pretty young. Piastri, Lando.
So
the
it's
older
gonna be
we
pretty...
get, the younger they get.
Yeah, no, actually though, it's gonna be pretty. Yeah, I couldn't believe that Colapinto was born in 2003. That's insane.
Crazy.
2000 and are people born 2000 and?
And yeah, the other day at work, I had a patient who was like fully functioning adult and was born when I started at med school.
Wow, that's crazy. I have a similar one. The other day at work, I had a patient, a lady, born in my year, who was pregnant, soon to give birth. And at first I was like, oh my God, is this a teen pregnancy? And then I realized, no, actually this is a very normal age for an adult to have a child.
You just thought you were 10 years younger.
I was like, that's so sad for her. Oh wait, no, she's like in her late 20s. This is like a very normal time to have a baby.
Yeah. We're getting old. Cool. Predictions for Monza.
Verstappen will win. There you go. Crazy prediction.
I'm going to give it to...
I want Lewis to be like more wins than Lando. I know you said you're happy with 2, and I am truly in my heart, but I want him to have more wins than Lando at the end of the year in the slower car.
If it happens, I want it to happen because of like random luck. The Ferrari still has to be a better car, but it's like taken out by the Red Bulls or something. Yep.
Or just Lewis's skill. Like George is like P4, but somehow Lewis is just winning races.
Yeah. So I'll take a Lewis win or an Oscar win, and then we'll see how it goes from there.
Yeah. Cool. And I just want to say again, people who are listening online, I'm wearing my Logan Sargeant shirt. This is probably the last time I'll wear it. Maybe I'll make this like a pajama shirt and just wear it to sleep. But I got this shirt the day he was announced as a driver.
Oh, and you knew it because the shirt came out before the announcement.
Yeah, exactly. The shirt was being sold the morning that he got announced, and I was so excited about it. And I'm going to stop wearing it when he gets let go. The Logan Sargeant shirt. I'll miss you, buddy.
End of an era. Low gone.
Saluting my man Logan. Say, can you see
something? Dark Knight Rises trailer.
All right, guys. We will see you after more.
Bye.